neutral buoyancy laboratory.
Yes.
We should probably explain what the pool is, the neutral buoyancy laboratory that you practice in.
Yes, we fondly call it the pool, but it's a gigantic training facility that holds the mock-up of the space station, and that's just how we practice spacewalking. And though we can become buoyant, neutrally buoyant in the pool, we can't take away gravity. And so
P4 handrail 5104 for SSRMS setup. And check your gauntlets in place prior to crossing the surge.
Copy 5104 on P4, and I'll check my gauntlets.
Good, read back.
Stephanie, I've reached handrail 5120, which I believe is where I'm leaving the medium ORU bag.
And that is a good location to attempt to stow the medium ORU bag. Also, check your gauntlets in place.
Okay, copy. My gauntlets are in place.
Copy.
in Jessica's helmet cam, you can see the glow of the horizon on Earth, and as magnificent as that is to see, it will probably not be enough to distract Jessica right now from the task she has at hand. That's how much you concentrate while you're out there. It's such a unique environment that it takes as much mental strength as it does physical strength. And
yes, we talk a lot about how physically hard it is, but it's also, you just come back completely exhausted, I would assume.
Yes. you think as hard as you can out there.
Copy, Christina.
I see you.
Moving out of range of video downlink from the satellites for a moment or two.
Okay, and I am to Jessica. I'll stand by. Other than that, Christina, I have the bag stowed, but I have not taken out the GoPro yet. Do you want to kick the GoPro out? Or do you want me to? If you're in a good spot, go ahead, and if not, I'll be glad to do it. And do you remember that on the right or the left side of the bag? It's on the same side as the red. You know what? I can do it since I set it up. Okay, that'll work. Good call. Okay, Stephanie, then with that, I should keep progressing outboard.
That's affirmed, Jessica. You can translate to the P6 long spacer, handrail 5312, to attach your green hook. And I have one warning and one caution if it's a good time.
Oh, sure, I'm ready for that.
The warning is for sharp edges on P6. There's a P6 sharp edge hazard, MT rail attach lug near the 2 Bravo IAA inboard radiator corner. And the 1 caution on P6, avoid contact with deployed and stowed radiators.
Okay, copy that.
Jessica, Christina, for your information, arm is in motion.
Copy.
Still seeing this view from Jessica Meir's helmet camera. She's again making her way to actually what would have been the work site to install the next set of new batteries if we'd been going through the regularly planned spacewalk. Instead, she'll be picking up some of the equipment there
Confirm this is a good location.
because she and Christina Koch will need it as they're moving the battery charge discharge unit around.
And Stephanie, V1, I'll copy.
Christina, I copy you now. We're in a period of RADI-COM for another 6 minutes.
The challenge coming up for these this entire team is once Christina has the arm set up and is ready for motion, she'll be talking with Luca inside, who's maneuvering the arm, and then Jessica's still going to need to be kept busy and listening for Stephanie. And so it'll be interesting for folks to listen up at how well they coordinate that communication from inside the space station to outside the space station to here inside Mission Control. It'll be kind of neat to watch.
Another example of how much there is to keep track of.
Absolutely. No shortage.
Please repeat your last.
Yes, my last was just updating you on my location, 5104 and 5103 handrail, and wanted to check in with you on this location for setup of the SSRMS. I believe this is where we're looking to be.
And you are correct.
And Stephanie, for EV2, I'm at 5312 working on my green hook.
Copy, Jessica. And Christina, if you are ready to work with Luca for the GCA for APFR install, I can hand you over to him.
Okay, stand by 1. I'll let Jessica keep you for a minute longer while I reposition for this.
Copy that. Copy.
The APFR that you hear him talking about is the articulated portable foot restraint that Christina Koch will be using as she rides the robotic arm to the next work site. That'll allow her to have her hands free to hold the equipment.
The outboard route.
The APFR is one of those pieces of equipment that we use commonly in any spacewalk, but it's also one of the more massive things that we manipulate during a task. We do everything from retrieving it to installing it to ingressing our own feet into it, and it's one of those things that a lot of training is spent mastering that. And so it's a rewarding experience when you actually get to go into space and use one, because it's been reported to be a lot easier in space than it is in training. So I bet it's a joy for them right now.
That's good to hear. I think Jessica Meir will be using one several times later in the spacewalk if there's time, as a get-ahead to check out some Worksite interfaces.
I will rely on you for clearance because my views currently are do not concern me to really see the position.
Okay. In your current location, is this considered the published APFR install location?
That is correct. This is the published APFR install position.
Okay, copy that. I'm going to class. We'll go with 10 centimeters toward the IEA, and I'm showing that zenith.
Okay, I understand the 10 centimeter station zenith.
Good, read that.
That does seem like a hard part of the coordination, the minute maneuvers with the robotic arm to get it just in the right place.
Oh, it is, and the words spoken between the EV crew member and the arm operator are really important. What we try to do is to minimize the iterations that we go through in terms of saying what we want and getting the arm in the right position. And so it's that's what is the goal for these translations, as well as the communication between the crew.
We are 40 seconds from a 20-second handover, and 1 minute to sunrise.
See that? We'll go for an APFR install. That's in work.
Copy.
And I would also add that the coordination between the EV crew and the arm operators is aided by the fact that we all cross-train. And so Luca has been a spacewalker, and Christina's been an arm operator, and so they know how to speak the same language and know what each other needs, and that aids in making sure they get the positions that they want without spending a lot of time getting there.
That makes sense, and I'm sure you've driven the robotic arm as well. Is that
yes, we're
difficult?
It's complex because we have this sophisticated robotic arm that has 7 degrees of freedom, and the space station is enormous and complex, and we have camera views that are not very straightforward. So you spend a lot of time, you spend a lot of brain power interpreting the views that you see, and cross-checking with other views to make sure that there's no obstructions. You're not going to make contact with structure, and so it is difficult. And then plus you've got a live person on the end of the arm, and that adds a level of that turns it up a notch for the arm operator.
Definitely
for sure.
Don't want to run them into anything.
Absolutely not. That's your buddy.
Moved through a period where we're not getting downlink again, but it's coming back now, and I think we should be out of that period where we're dropping in and out now.
Christina, Jessica, back with you after the handover. Jessica, we see you have the crew lock bag in sight, and you'll retrieve the 4 scoops to place those on 3 batteries and a DCSU on the IEA.
That's in work.
And those scoops are the handles that we were talking about, getting them off the nickel hydrogen batteries that were set to be replaced so that they can be used to move the new and old battery charge discharge units around. Jessica Meir will be taking them over to Christina Koch to get them installed, and installing some of her own as well. And Tracy, thanks so much for spending time with us today. I know that you have your own work that you need to be getting to. So any parting thoughts, advice before you head out?
I just think everyone ought to be sending some positive vibes by way of airwaves to space for these two top-notch spacewalkers. I think it's going to be a long day, and so they'll be focusing as much with their mind as with their hands, and so I think we can expect their calm to probably get a little bit less and less as the day goes on, as their brain is focused on the task.
Installed from the SSRMS lift, docking of 12, twist pull and twist test, and I have black on black.
But I think the thing to really pay attention to is the unspoken coordination between the whole crew, especially the two that are outside. They're good friends outside of the work that they're doing, and I think it is especially meaningful to be doing something as unique and fascinating as a spacewalk, especially with someone that you know really cares about you, and that's the case with those two, Christina and Jessica. So watch for that communication that is outside the normal, and I think you'll get a sense for the camaraderie that you have outside the space station today.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us. We're 43 minutes into what is planned to be a 5.5-hour spacewalk, so we should have a lot of fun left to go.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Brandy. It's been a pleasure.
I have Papa Foxfit set.
Copy, Christina. Those are good settings. You can perform a safety tether swap onto the SSRMS. First lock your green hook, and then relocate your yellow hook to the SSRMS lee forward tether point.
Copy that.
As you can see, the spacewalkers and the International Space Station have moved into the daylight portion of this orbit around the Earth, currently over the Pacific Ocean, heading towards the coast of South America, or Central America rather. And this a view of Christina Koch in her spacesuit with the red stripe to differentiate her from Jessica Meir with an all-white spacesuit. And it looks like this view is coming from the space station's robotic arm, which is just within reach of Koch, so that she can get that foot restraint installed on the end of it, which she will then climb into and use to move from here to the P4 work site. Then she'll have a little ways to carry the battery charge discharge unit to get it out to the P6 solar array.
Now.
Jessica, say again your last.
And Stephanie, this gap spanner is really loose. I think I'm going to try to tighten it up a bit.
Jessica, we copy.
And for EV1, my green hook is locked.
Copy.
And confirm I am taking my yellow hook, the forward SSRMS handrail.
That's affirmative. Relocate yellow hook to SSRMS lee forward tether point.
Copy. Stephanie, tightens that gap spanner up quite a bit on the outboard side. I think it'll be a little bit more useful that way.
Jessica, we copy. As you're tightening, or once you're complete with that, can you also give us the 180-degree turn test of the turn of the buckle so that there's 1 inch of slack?
Yes, there still is over an inch of slack.
We copy that. Thank you.
Getting our first view here from Christina Koch's helmet camera, which you will be able to tell is coming from her by the number 18 embossed in the lower right-hand corner throughout the day. And although it's a little shaky, this is a view of that foot restraint that she'll be installing there on the end of the robotic arm. She has installed, rather.
My green wheel is locked.
Copy, green wheel locked. Stow your green hook on P4 handrail 5104.
Copy and work.
As we promised, we're going to be taking Ask NASA questions from social media throughout today's spacewalk, and we'll take advantage of a few minutes of quiet to answer a few here. First up, we have a question from Amanda asking, what's the most challenging task for Koch and Meir during their spacewalk today? Just the spacewalk itself is, as we talked about with Tracy Caldwell-Dyson, really physically and mentally demanding. But as far as specific tasks, nothing that they are doing is in itself hard, but the pieces of equipment they'll be moving around are bulky, and moving around with them attached to their tethers or in their handholds can be challenging. The main task for the spacewalk is to change out an old battery charge discharge unit that we've had a problem with for a new one that has been stored as a spare on the space station. So that'll take about 3.5 hours to get that done, and then they'll wrap up with a few get-aheads if there is time.
Green wheel unlocked. Copy, unlocked.
Christina Koch moving through the steps to get her foot restraint set up on the robotic arm. And we also have a question from Renee.
I believe that the APFR ingress location is moved from here, so standby 1.
Renee's asking what happens during the swap of the failed power unit. Will electricity black out for the time of the repair? And no, the space station actually has a total of 24 of these battery charged discharge units that are taking in and putting out power from the station's 4 solar arrays. So they do have plenty of power. We just do want to have the full amount of power that we can get, so we want to get this swapped out.
Copy and standby 1. I need to verify my EPFR settings.
Copy.
And Stephanie, I've got all 4 scoops in the bag, so I believe my next step is to head over to the APFR, bundle the bag, and then bring the APFR to 2 Bravo.
That's affirmative, Jessica, and you'll also change the pitch to Papa Papa.
Copy, Papa Papa.
Good readback.
View here from Jessica Meir's helmet camera. She's working through the steps of this Worksite setup with Stephanie Wilson here on the ground. She's first been retrieving some handles that will be used during today's spacewalk, moving them off of the batteries that were going to be replaced, and they'll be used on both the old battery charge discharge unit and the new one to move those around. She's also picking up a foot restraint that she'll be installing back at P6, the segment of the truss that they'll be spending the most time working at today.
Christina, we copy. And yes, please work with Luca.
Okay, Luca, I am ready when you are.
Okay, Christina, I'm going to GCA to the published APFR ingress position and then take ulterior motions from you if necessary. And it's going to be a motion towards the X station forward, about 1 meter.
Copy that and concur.
Starting motion.
Copy.
Hearing Luca Parmitano's voice added to the mix as he is driving the space station's robotic arm. We're getting this view from a camera on the robotic arm, so you see it moving away from Christina Koch there. Koch is at what we call the CETA cart. That stands for Crew Equipment and Translation Aid Cart.
Copy. And Lisa, that looks like a good position. I'll give it a go for the ingress. GCA complete.
Copy, GCA complete. Brakes are on.
Copy.
Go for APFR ingress.
Copy, brakes on, go for ingress.
Once Koch is in this foot restraint on the robotic arm, it will move her to the location of that spare, the new battery charge discharge unit, where she'll be picking it up. View of another foot restraint that Jessica Meir is picking up. This was, again, going to be used in the battery swap task that had been planned for the next spacewalk, but they'll need it today, so she's going to pick it up now and move it to the P6 work site. Or this is also on P6, but a different P6 work site, so that she and Christina Koch can use it today. Seeing a lot of Ask NASA questions come in, so we'll try and answer a few while we have a quiet moment. This one from Noni, who is first of all saying good luck to the spacewalkers and then asking how heavy are the spacesuits and do they impact the astronauts? On the ground, these spacesuits would weigh about 300 pounds, so they are definitely heavy, not easy to use in gravity. A little easier, of course, in microgravity where they're able to float, but still pretty bulky and hard to maneuver in. It takes a lot to protect the astronauts from the vacuum of space, and this is basically their own personal spaceship, so it has everything they need to survive outside of the space station. So they have to be careful and be really trained in how to move around in the spacesuits. They also, well, as we talked about before they left the airlock, add padding inside the spacesuit to make sure they kind of stay positioned in it as is most comfortable and most helpful, so that, for instance, their hands aren't slipping out of the gloves when they bend their elbow, or they're not moving around inside their boots when they're getting into the foot restraints, as Christina Koch is here. Mr. Wilson's science class from Jones Middle School in Florence, Kentucky have a question as they are watching the spacewalk, and they are wanting to know how the astronauts train for the spacewalks. Yeah.
Copy, you've ingress and ingress aid is stowed. Nice work. Retrieve the medium ORU bag. That is temp stowed on handrail 5120 and place it on your BRT.
Thanks, copy.
Christina Koch, they're reporting that she is in that foot restraint now.
And
so she'll be getting her.
GCA for that retrieval when you're ready.
You can give me a second to set it up, and I'll go for your GCA.
Getting back to Mr. Wilson's science class question, the astronauts have a number of different ways that they train here on the ground. One of the main ones is inside the Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory, which is an enormous 40-foot deep swimming pool.
Copy. 20 centimeters towards your feet, station forward.
We have an enormous full-size mock-up of the space station inside the pool, so they're able to move around on it just as they do in space. But underwater isn't a perfect comparison, so we also do virtual reality training with the spacewalkers, and we have a system that puts them in a harness and uses pulleys to make it feel like they are in zero gravity, so that they can see how the tools work and how they're moving around in microgravity will feel a little better than they do in the swimming pool.
There's your 20 centimeters.
Okay, I will take an additional 20, please.
Okay, another 20. Same direction.
Yes, sir.
Steady motion.
Copy.
And there's your additional 20.
Copy. This will be good. We can call that GCA complete.
GCA complete. Let's coming on.
Copy. Lucas, can you confirm brakes are on?
Brakes are on, sorry.
Copy. And that was GCA complete, right? Affirm. Okay, Stephanie, I have the HFR and Papa, and I'm going to get this on my BRT and bring this over to 2 Bravo And we have 38, correct?
Jessica, that is all correct.
Okay, copy, in work. EBMLRU bag is installed on my BRT.
Copy, Christina. When you are happy and ready for motion, you can ask Luca or give Luca a go to maneuver to the ELC1 BCDU worksite.
Copy. Luca, I am ready for motion to the BCDU worksite on ELC1.
Christina, copy. There will be first back-off maneuver away from structure, and then it will be joint TOCAS.
Copy.
Cook there confirming that she's got everything she needs in place to begin moving on board that robotic arm that Luca Parmitano is driving.
I noticed that Jessica Safety Tether is currently behind my helmet. Deconflict that.
The brakes are on.
Copy, brakes are on.
You can see in this view from Jessica Meir's helmet camera a good view of the mirrors that the astronauts wear on their wrist. And we actually have a question from 7th grade class in West Orange, New Jersey about why they wear those. That is a way that the crew can see the controls on their spacesuit, which are on the chest of the spacesuit. With the helmets and the bulky spacesuits themselves, they're not able to bend their necks and look down, so they use those mirrors to see the controls in them and adjust them as needed. They can do things like adjust the water in the undergarments that they wear to keep them at a comfortable temperature as they move through the day and night cycles on the International Space Station. And to help with that, those controls are actually printed backwards so that they show up correctly in the mirror. Still seeing Christina Cook there on the end of the robotic arm. It is going to be moving her to the external logistics carrier number 1. That's where the spare battery charge discharge unit is waiting for her to pick up and then carry over to first the P4 worksite, or a worksite on P4 truss. She'll get out of the off of the robotic arm there and with the help of Jessica Meir, carry the battery charge discharge unit over to P6 where they'll be installing it.
Tether has been cleared. I can confirm all the tethers are in a good config.
Nice work, Christina.
This is Luca. Great job on that. And I'm going to start setting up the arm for the back-off maneuver.
Copy.
Christina, we are starting motion. It will be straight back away from structure.
Copy, you're ready for motion. I see good motion.
View here of Christina Koch beginning that ride to the external logistics carrier. Arm moves very slowly and carefully. And it is being driven by Space Station Commander Luca Parmitano, who is inside the space station's cupola at the controls of the arm. See the one of the space station's solar array panels coming into view in the top left-hand side of the screen. That gives you an idea of the scale of those solar arrays, which are enormous. There's 4 sets of those. This one's on the starboard side. The crew will be working on the port side for most of the spacewalk.
Christina, when it's a good time, I'll take a glove and hap check.
Copy. Check and work. For EV1 gloves, no change, dry hap.
Copy, no change, dry hap. PET is about 1 hour, 10 minutes. Limiting consumable, 7 hours, 45 minutes for EV1 battery power.
EV1 copy. EV2 copy.
Capcom Stephanie Wilson there giving the crew a status update. She mentioned we are now 1 hour and 10 minutes into today's spacewalk, the historic first for a spacewalk to be conducted by 2 women. And we do have a number of school classes watching, including Mrs. Harrison's environmental science class. They sent in a question using the hashtag AskNASA, and they want to know how long the battery that we are replacing lasted. And we're not actually replacing a battery here. It's a discharge unit for a battery, which makes sure that we get a standard level of power sent to the space station systems. But it's actually been on board the space station for about 19 years. It was first integrated on STS-97 in December of 2000. So it had a good long life, but we do have some spares on board. There are 24 of these installed on the International Space Station, one for each of the power strings.
Motion on 2.5 minutes jump forecast.
Copy, and I'm ready.
Starting motion.
This is the second one that we've replaced. We had another one fail earlier this year in a similar situation after some of the new batteries were installed. So we'll be taking a look at what might be causing that before we go forward with the spacewalks that had been planned to continue replacing the old nickel hydrogen batteries with new lithium ion ones.
Christina, if it's a good time, I have one warning and two cautions for ELC1.
It's a good time. I'm ready for warnings and cautions.
The warning is to avoid contact with the payload, RRM-3, due to exposed sharp edges, corners, protrusions, entrapment, pinch points, and structural damage.
Copy. We'll avoid it, and I have eyes on it.
Copy. And the two cautions: minimize contact with Z93, that's the paint or the thermal coating on the XPECA, and no vigorous body motion on ELC1.
Copy both. Okay, Stephanie, I've got a clocking of 8, black on black, and a good pull twist test.
Copy, Jessica. Double check wire ties tucked under the boot plate.
Work. I can confirm that now. Wire ties are tucked under the boot plate.
Copy. The rest of the settings are Papa Papa Fox 12.
I see Papa Papa Fox and 12 is set.
Copy that. Next, install 2 scoops on the outboardmost BCDU. For H1 and H2, the handles will both go towards the radiator.
Great view of Jessica Cook there on the end of the robotic arm, still making her way to the external logistics carrier where the new battery charge discharge unit is awaiting. We're seeing her with the Earth in the background. The space station's currently coming up on the coast of Europe at the moment, and still have a fair amount of time left in this daylight portion of the orbit before they move into night. Meanwhile, Jessica Meir is beginning to remove those handles that she's been picking up.
We do. We have good video. Thank you.
Or rather, installing them.
Christina, DCV1, Robo 1, we are ready to fly you to the publish MLI cover position. It's a manual motion, so when you're go for me to start moving, I'm ready.
Okay, Luca, I'm gonna go.
And it's going to be, I'm going to start motion towards the ELC.
Copy. Good motion.
Good motion.
While Cook is continuing to make her way to the logistics carrier with the new battery charge discharge unit, Jessica Meir is installing 2 of the handles that she picked up from the old batteries onto the old battery charge discharge unit. She's then going to get a ratchet wrench ready for Cook's use a little later in the spacewalk, and then she'll be moving to the logistics carrier herself, where she'll drop off a bag and the wrench for Christina Cook to use. View here from her helmet, from Jessica Meir's helmet camera.
And Christina, you're at the publish position.
Okay, copy. Let's continue motion in that direction. We'll start with another 10 centimeters for now.
Copy, another 10 centimeters into the same direction.
Agreed. Good motion.
And that's 10 for you.
Copy. And I think we'll need another 10, and that should do it. In the same direction. I am ready.
Okay, moving another 10 centimeters in the same direction.
Agreed.
And that's your 10 centimeters.
Okay, and now that I'm here, and apologies for inching us our way there, but I've got the PGT out now of assessing reach, and I think I'll take another 10. Direction.
Copy, and please verify that your ingress aid is tucked in and all the clearances are good, and I'll move you in another 10.
Okay, I can verify that. Ingress aid is stowed. All clearances are good.
Okay, starting motion.
And good motion. And Luca, is that our 10?
Yes, you have 10 centimeters there.
Happy. Let's go ahead and call this GCA complete.
Okay, copy. GCA complete, brakes are on.
Copy, brakes are on.
View here from Christina Koch's helmet camera. She's reporting to Luca Parmitano that she is happy where she is at the external logistics carrier.
ORU bag tether point to the aft MLI loop.
Copy and work.
And we are 10 seconds to a 20-second handover.
Stephanie, can you confirm the handle?
Short handover of satellites that send us video down from the International Space Station. Should be coming back in just a moment.
The amazing view out here is phenomenal.
And Jessica, the scoop handles are towards the radiator.
Copy, that's in work.
View there of Keith Johnson, who's the lead spacewalk officer, working from the ground today.
The MLI of the BCDU.
Copy, Christina. And up to you for the MLI removal steps to assess your access and whether or not you need to egress the APFR.
Okay, and I think I have good access for those bolts in the APFR.
Copy, Christina. Then let me know when you're ready for PGT setting.
I'm ready.
Alpha 7, counterclockwise 2.
Okay, confirm Alpha 7 and not 2, counter 2.
Christina, I'm sorry, please repeat the, your PGT setting.
I wanted to verify that it was alpha 7 and not alpha 2 for these MLI bolts.
It is alpha 2, counterclockwise 2.
Christina Koch, they're working with Stephanie Wilson to get into the first task now that she is at the new battery charge-discharge unit. She's going to be removing some insulation cover, and to do that she will be removing 2 bolts as well as some Velcro and a couple of straps.
Copy.
View here from Cook's helmet camera as she gets started on one of those bolts.
Copy. On the nadir bolt, release, expect 15.4 to 17.9 turns.
Copy. Inward. Hey, Stephanie, both of those are on, and they are handles are pointed towards the radiator. I think I'm going to do a socket off now with the ratchet from my PGT.
That's affirmative.
And Stephanie, I have released the nadir bolt, 17 turns.
Copy. Nadir bolt released, 17 turns. Next is the zenith bolt, same settings, alpha 2, counterclockwise 2.
Copy. Alpha 2, counter 2 set.
Cook, they're reporting that she's got the first of 2 bolts released on the insulation, starting on the second, while Jessica Meir reports that she's got the handles that she was installing on the old battery charge-discharge unit done. And her next step will be to get a ratchet wrench prepared for Cook's use, and then begin making her way to the external logistics carrier where this old battery charge-discharge unit is.
And the bolt appears released at 14 turns.
Copy. Zenith bolt released at 14 turns.
The Ask NASA questions are continuing to pour in, so we'll take another one now. This one coming from a 6th grade class in New Jersey. Miss Bandera asking how long this repair will take to complete. And the actual swap of the old for the new battery charge discharge unit will take about 3.5 hours, but the total length of the spacewalk today is planned to be about 5.5 hours because the crew members are also going to get a few other get-ahead tasks done. And just as another data point,
We have a good pull twist test on the socket.
Copy, Jessica. Good pull test.
The longest spacewalk that has been done was 8 hours and 56 minutes. That was in 2001 on March 11th, and actually a female spacewalker participated in it as well. That was Susan Helms during the STS-102 mission, working on space station assembly.
Place the crew lock bag on your BRT and translate back to your green hook to retrieve it.
Okay, copy. In work. And Stephanie, it looks like I'm going to need a couple more turns on that Venus boat, so I'll be putting a few more Being Alpha 2, clockwise 2.
Alpha 2, counter clockwise 2.
Sorry, counter. Yep, that's the firm. Thanks. Counter 2.
Copy that, and we concur with a few more turns.
Work. That did it with 4 more turns.
Copy an additional 4 turns on the zenith bolt.
Stephanie, I have to ask, where are we flying over? It's beautiful.
Christina, Jessica, we are flying over the Middle East.
Copy.
View of Christina Koch here at the external logistics carrier where that old, the new rather, battery charge discharge unit is, and asking the ground to confirm where they are flying over right now because it's such a good view. The answer was south of Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. They're also just about to move into another nighttime portion of this orbit around the Earth, so things will be getting a little darker. With crews making good time on their spacewalk task with
I've got the True Light bag on my right now. I just need to get that on my DRT, and then I'll be heading back inboard. Great.
crews making good time on their task with Christina Koch working to remove the thermal insulation cover that's been protecting the new battery charge discharge unit, and Jessica Meir getting ready to make her way over to where Koch is working, drop off some tools and begin another task.
Copy. We are going to have to back you out for a second, and then we'll be ready for the GCA.
Okay, copy that. Ready for motion.
Starting motion.
Copy. Motion.
So now we are reconfiguring to internal.
Copy.
And Christina, we are ready for your GCA for your next position for the MLI removal.
Okay, copy that. I think maybe as a starting point, we could try the low hover position. I don't know if that position has us backing away anymore, but it might be a good position in terms of the X value for the forward motion.
Okay, I'm going to fly to you to the low hover and if you're ready for motion.
Ready for motion.
First motion is down towards your feet.
Copy. And ready. Good motion.
Copy the motion. And now I'm going to pitch you up about 30 degrees.
Lucas, let's hold up on that if that's part of that that particular published position. I don't think I need the pitch. I will take, if we can go ahead and just start doing raw GCA, I'll take continued motion towards my feet, and we can say about 20 more centimeters for starters.
If you don't mind, Christina, I'm going to do that pitch, do another snapshot per procedure,
Okay.
then take your GCA.
Okay, that's perfect. No worries. Sounds good.
Starting motion.
Copy. Good motion.
Motion.
With those two bolts that were holding the insulation in place on the new battery charge discharge unit taken off, Christina Koch's getting some assistance from Luca Parmitano at the controls of the robotic arm, moving into a better position to continue removing that insulation. She'll also need to remove some Velcro and two straps that are on the underside of the hardware. And meanwhile, Jessica Meir is on her way to the external logistics carrier where Koch is working right now. View from her helmet camera as she is making her way hand over hand to that storage location so that she can drop off some tools and then, if there is enough time, start on an early get-ahead task to disconnect an Ethernet cable.
And Christina, I'm ready for your EVA, or your GCA.
Okay, copy that. Let's go ahead and do station 4, so in the direction of my feet, we'll start with 20 centimeters.
20 centimeters towards your feet.
Agreed. Good motion.
Copy the motion. And that's 20.
Okay. I'll start work here on this NLI, so we'll call that GCA complete for now.
Copy, GCA complete, brakes coming on, and the brakes are on.
Copy, brakes are on. And Jessica, that was GCA complete. You need to come. Okay, copy. I'm headed back to you, and I've already retrieved my green hook. Copy that. I see your safety tether bounce and figured you were close by.
Jessica, one caution for the ELC. No big vigorous body motion once on the ELC, and when you translate on to the ELC, you can do so via the forward nadir CMG.
Copy.
View here from Christina's helmet camera as she's removed that insulation and is stuffing it in her one of her tool bags for storage. With that complete, she'll be able to move on to the next task, which is actually removing the new battery charge discharge unit. To do that, she'll install some of the helmets that Jessica Meir is bringing over for her, loosen some bolts, or remove some bolts, and then she'll be able to pick it up.
And I have a great view of you, Nana. Copy that. No eyes on you yet. Oh, now I do. Hi, you're close. I sure am.
Jessica, when convenient, power cycle.
Timing is perfect because
Jessica, press your WVS power button.